think we're good to go. All right.
All right.
Mark.
AJ.
Good to see you, sir.
Welcome back to the garden.
We are back out at Rogue Rhino Gardens, and today we're talking about
ducks.
Ducks. Let's talk ducks.
We're going to talk ducks. Now, ducks, I do not recommend as a beginner. You need a little bit more understanding in the chicken world. Ducks,
okay.
Ducks are a lot harder to work with.
Okay.
So I better face you.
Yeah.
And the biggest misnomer that people have about ducks is they think they have to have water.
Okay.
And you really don't. There is our egg layer. It's called a Khaki Campbell, or it's a runner duck. They kind of look like penguins, but they actually can survive without any water at all. I mean, drinking water, of course, but they don't need to have anything to swim in.
Okay.
And they're great little egg layers. But they're not a great meat bird if you want to raise ducks for meat. So another really interesting characteristic about ducks through the state of Arizona is that it's not considered poultry.
Okay, so you don't need that license if you're selling them.
Yeah, you can sell duck eggs like crazy, and it's definitely under the radar.
Nice.
Very much. Ducks are considered waterfowl, but they are noisier. So if you're battling the HOA and that type of thing in your small house, I wouldn't go with ducks right off.
Gotcha.
Unless you absolutely. I think I mentioned this in our last interview. People that eat duck eggs, 90% of them have a chicken egg allergy.
Okay.
And that allergy supposedly came from vaccinations. They actually do use a chicken egg white as a carrier. So when the body was injected with the vaccine, which is a poison, the body sees that egg white or that carrier as a poison also. And that's why they can't eat chicken eggs. But they can certainly get away with duck eggs.
I had never had a duck egg until a few weeks ago, and when I came here and I picked up my garden box, and for people who have not had it, they're bigger,
much
creamier, they're tastier. It's a little, when you're cracking it and pulling it in, it's definitely a little slimier. So when I did crack it, I don't have an aversion to wildlife, but it was definitely like a. Then you cook it and it all goes away because it tastes fabulous. It actually tastes. I'll take duck eggs now over chicken eggs any day.
Yeah, and we sell every egg we lay. It's just one of those things. We don't get enough duck eggs. Now for your food, again, we're back to if you're going to eat an animal product, the food that you want to feed it are got to be the highest quality food that you can get or that you can afford. Affordability for chicken food. Now you can feed ducks the same feed as chickens.
Okay.
You still want to process, you want to put down eggshell so you can get calcium, and you want to put down some gravel or so that they can eat they pick up the gravel, it helps their gizzards work that way, and all of that is beneficial for your ducks. So you can use the same food, although I wouldn't house them together. Neither would I house turkeys and chickens together, unless you absolutely have to. There's supposedly a turkey disease that they can get from chicken manure.
Okay.
But ducks and chickens, they get along, but it all depends on your stocking quantity. If you're going to try and put, 25 ducks and 25 chickens in a small area, you're going to have problems. Definitely with the roosters.
There was a question regarding our last series about chickens. Let's say somebody's got and I don't want to talk about chickens right now.
Yeah.
But the question's relevant to ducks as well.
It's all part of the game.
Absolutely. For somebody who lives in a typical home, in a suburb and all that, what's a good number to start with? Say you're going to have chickens and then say you're going to have ducks individually. What's a good number to start with?
I would, and you've always buy your feathered friends in pairs.
Okay.
Never buy them solo. We get plenty of ducks where the parents have bought them for Easter per se, and for the kids to have for the Easter holidays, and then they don't want the ducks anymore.
Okay.
So we'll take a bunch of orphan babies in. But I would say if your family of 4, what is your egg eating quantities? How much do you eat? So, and young ducks will give you an egg a day, just like a chicken will give you an egg a day. The older they get, the more they'll slow down. I must say, though, that ducks are way more seasonable on egg laying than chickens are.
Okay.
Chickens will go all the way into the dead of winter before they slow down, to where ducks will slow down and they'll just stop. And that you just kind of ride it out. You got to feed them. You know, you want to keep them healthy and let it go. If you have water like we do, we actually have a duck door. We just went to this. Every time we clean out our pond, we find 1,000 eggs in the bottom of the pond.
No kidding.
So
okay.
For my feed ratio, you know, I'm trying to figure out, okay, we're feeding these ducks. It's costing us so much money. You know, how much money am I getting back on eggs? And then we do duck meat here, but that's a different breed. So when AJ takes shots of the actual pond, you'll see a white bird, which is a peking, which is the meat bird of the duck family.
Okay. Do they also produce eggs?
They do,
okay,
but not to the quantity of the Khaki Campbells.
Okay.
So our meat birds are the pekings, and the growth ratio between a duck chick, a duckling, which is not really, it's a duckling, and a chicken chick is quite dramatic. Ducks grow way faster than chickens do. And they're messy. Their volume is massive compared to chickens.
Their volume of excrement. Yeah. There's shit everywhere. Yeah. Gotcha.
Which is another thing I gotta warn you about. And you definitely don't want ducks in your swimming pool, because they'll be pooping in that pool pretty regularly, and it's not nice. But if you want to, you know, get a kiddie pool and stuff like that, that's quite all right. They'll get in there and they'll enjoy it. Now ducks, when they're eating their food, because they're like a chicken, they don't have teeth either, but they actually like to have their feed on one side and then water on the other. And you'll notice in their feeding behavior that they'll get a mouthful of the grain of your chicken food or whatever you're using, and then they'll go right to water, and then they'll mix it with the water so that they can swallow it. So it's really good to have your waterer next to your feeder with ducks, but again, make sure it's a covered water, because otherwise they're going to be standing in it.
Okay.
It's going to, it's going to get all crazy on you.
Like chickens have roosters. What do ducks have? And
they have they definitely have a boy duck.
Okay.
And their mating process is very vicious.
Really?
Yes, very vicious. The boys will, 3 or 4 boys will pick on a girl, and once you read about how ducks actually do the dirty deed, it's quite a process.
Okay.
And the girls, if you have water, you think they're drowning the girls.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a gang type activity. You'll get a lot of damaged girls with the backs of their necks, the fur is actually pulled off. So
they're in the rough stuff.
They're in the rough stuff.
Gotcha.
Because it is so hard for the boy to actually make it all work to get into the girl. And again, same type of thinking. Once your female has gotten her load per se, she will fertilize those duck eggs for up to like 30 days.
Okay.
And turkeys are the same way too.
So do you want a male duck with your females if you're just keeping them at your house?
It's not as big a deal as it is in the chicken world.
Okay.
Because ducks that hierarchy is not the same that we have found here. So we will buy the boys because they're bigger, they're meatier, and you'll see in ours that we actually mix the Khaki Campbells with the Pekings. And now our boys are getting to that 10-pound range.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to get pretty close. But if you're going to clean, kill and clean a duck, there's a process because of their feathers with the water where you actually have to wax the feathers. So after you're pulling the feathers off, you dunk the bird in a wax base and you pull it out, and then you use that wax to get that second set of feathers out.
Interesting.
So it's
like a lady going and getting stuff waxed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more process.
Okay.
And now duck meat is a lot different than chicken meat. So some people love duck, some people don't. It's almost all dark meat. I think it's got a great flavor. But I was never raised around ducks or duck food as a meat. My grandfather from Sicily, he hunted, but we never duck hunted. We always did pheasants and that type of a game bird. We never ate duck, and we ate a ton of chicken. But and pheasant is kind of on that same realm too, where it's almost all dark meat. But that was, my biggest thing with ducks. I don't go into it until you've really got your chickens figured out, unless you're just gonna go for it.
Light your hair on fire and run.
Yeah. Now, ducks don't sleep up like chickens do. Ducks stay on the ground. And they, believe it or not, at night, they kind of sleep in a dog pile, which for predators, it's game on. Because all they got to do is jump into the middle of that pile and start grabbing. And especially with coyotes, because coyotes will, now a fox will kill just one, maybe two, and take them back. Coyotes or dogs will kill for fun.
Do cats touch?
No, they might mess with the chicks,
okay.
But it's pretty rare. I've never seen, we've got feral cats here at the farm, but I've never seen them, and our chicks are coming out of the brooder, and before we bring them outside, I've never had or experienced or witnessed. I'm sure it could happen, but I haven't seen that yet. So,
you said they don't sleep up like chickens do. They sleep on the ground.
Right.
But do you still need like a chicken coop?
You would need a duck coop for protection, because owls like them, the hawks like them. They'll come down, and ducks are very easy prey, super easy prey.
Yeah, they're not very fast moving.
No, and when they're in the water, they feel the safest. And we get visitors because the top of our pond is open by some boys flying by. They're coming down to meet the new girls and have their way with them, and then they leave. So that bothers us sometimes. We don't really have a ton of control over it. But don't be surprised if you've got 4 Peking ducks and all of a sudden you got a couple of volunteers that are visiting the girls. That's just the way of nature. And our ducks, like a Khaki Campbell or a runner duck, doesn't fly away. They don't go anywhere. Where the Pekings will fly, but very rarely. We've never lost any, darting, flying away. Chickens can get creative. They love to get up in trees.
Right.
So they can get out. And heritage turkeys will fly to your neighbor's yard no problem if you don't keep them enclosed. So for all of you that are into ducks, I would say they're great fun. Your children will love them. Ducks are way more friendlier than chickens when it comes to pets. So your kids will identify with the duck, and that duck will be their buddy for a long time. I mean, the duck will follow them all over the place. So they identify, especially if you get them while they're young. And a duck will live longer than a chicken here in the desert as long as you've got some way for them to get cooled off. Now, where the chicken uses a dust bath,
right,
the ducks do like a kiddie pond. They like water. They want to get in and get all their feathers all wet. And that saying, water run off the back of a duck, you watch them for a while and they'll dive. We put fish in our pond and they'll eat all the fish.
Okay.
They love fishing.
Now, you had stated with chickens, don't humidify the water. Is it the same thing with the duck?
Yeah, I remember we're back to that aerial disease stuff. So a good fan is always welcome, so that they have a breeze in the middle of the heat. And you'll find that ducks they'll hunker down when it gets hot. And at night, if you're close enough living to your ducks, they will alarm you of a predator. They are extremely noisy, kind of like a guinea hen is another one. Where the chickens they're quiet. You got to have somebody in the coop, actually in there killing stuff for them to start squawking. Where ducks will sound off the alarm. And for our guardian dogs here on the property, if they hear a scramble over here, everybody's headed to the ducks to see. Now, we've never had a coyote attack in the duck area itself. We did have a dog get killed out in front of the duck by coyotes, so I'm not sure if we've lost any. I haven't seen any evidence. Usually a coyote kill is feathers and blood, and it's all over the place, and it's usually a mom taking food to her pups. or they're coming through. But since we've had the dogs, we haven't had any other issues. But I highly recommend ducks, except not for the beginners. Get your feet wet with the chickens, and I would say the same thing with turkeys. Of course, we always want to propagate the heritage breeds, which is very good. Now there are chickens that had been messed with by man. They're I call them a GMO chicken, and I haven't seen that. They aren't doing that with ducks, but they certainly are with chickens, and they've definitely done it with turkeys. So do your homework, raise what you want to raise, and remember, if you're a meat eater, feeding with good intention, treating your animals with care, and then watch them to understand their behaviors. They're fascinating. And well, ducks and chickens are fascinating to watch, and they're fun, they're funny, your kids will love them. So I can't say enough good things about ducks other than you got to have the right space for them. You can get away with chickens in your backyard if you got an HOA a heck of a lot easier than you can with ducks.
Good to know. And how long do ducks normally live?
Ours are 4 to 6 years.
Okay.
The Khaki Campbells, again, they will reach a stage in their life where they're not producing enough eggs for us, and typically that's year 4.
Okay.
They drop off into where my feed ratio is not working, and then we will harvest them for dinner.
I was going to say, and then they become a turducken.
Yep. So it's all part of the life cycle. Here in the gardens or on the farm. But again, it's all with good intention. So we treat our animals like we treat our kids, with honor and respect.
Everything at this garden is treated with honor and respect.
Yeah,
the ground, the people, the animals, the food, everything.
Yeah, we just had the Rover, the elementary school came over, and they toured with us yesterday, and trying to teach the young ones. We had, I think, 50 kids here, and if I could just get one of them to drop a seed in one of those little guys, and that they fall in love with what's going on. But I mean, the gardens are flush right now because it's springtime.
It's beautiful here.
We got millions of ladybirds and hummingbirds, flowers all over the place. I mean, it was, and for us, we treat the place like a sanctuary. So we love children, but they must be attended, and we need to talk to them. This is not a playground. We don't want them running around tearing up stuff, but the curiosity of a young child is so fantastic compared to adults that just kind of blindly walk through here. But kids are all over it. I mean, they're in everything. What's this? What's that? What's this? And again, they love the chickens and anything, any animal. They're all about it. They want to play with the sheep, but if they get bit by a sheep, they're going to have a problem. We were in compost, and there's about 40 million flies in the compost pile. So we went marching back there, and it was all because of the flies, and trying to explain to them how a compost pile works. And flies are definitely part of that system. It's part of the breakdown. We just gotten a fresh load of grain in from the brewery, and we got coffee back there, and so there's lots of flies.
For people who don't have access to come out here, find a local farm and just go take a tour of it and walk around. And if you're in Arizona, I don't care if you're on the farm, I don't care if you're in Yuma, if you're in Arizona, if you're within 2 hours, come to this place because it's just so amazing. On Saturday, don't just show up unannounced.
Absolutely.
But this place, again, to see the symbiotic relationship between the ducks, the chickens, the food, everybody that works here, the ground. And again, I said it before in other ones, like the ground is squishy here, and it's just like
compost.
It's so amazing to come and it's you have an entire ecosystem here that survives. And again, the ducks are part of it. The chickens are part of it. Everything's part of it.
You bet.
And I again, I'm so happy that we're doing these series. I'm so happy that we're introducing people to something like, who would have ever thought to raise ducks? It's something that I don't think I've ever heard of anybody raising ducks. It's always chickens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said, well, we'll get some good videos of the pond, I'll go schlep it through the excrement and get some videos of them. But what other final words of advice do you have for?
Well, please join us on the web.
Absolutely.
It's roguerhino.club. It's kind of tricky. We do have a private membership club, which will give you access to videos. We have training classes. And in fact, this Saturday we're doing a canning class. So, which our canning classes are absolutely jam-packed, super popular. We're pulling in moms and dads from all over the neighborhoods to learn how to preserve their food like our grandparents used to. That's just one of those lost arts that we just lost.
Yep.
So, and I hope you'll subscribe to AJ's podcast. We're going to continue to do this around the farm.
Absolutely.
And hopefully all of you will fall in love with us and kind of follow along with us. We did, chickens, ducks, and now what we'll come up with next week. Right now the place looks spectacular.
So
because
beautiful.
It is spring. So I would love to have you check us out on the website. And if you have comments, please drop the comments from the video, or there's any questions. I'd love to be able to help you guys out with any of that. And I think our next class, we're going to go play in the compost pile.
Awesome.
So we're going to go dig.
RogueRhino.club, Blue to Green podcast. Like, comment, subscribe.